Please welcome one of your Roots Tech 2025 Global MCs, Irene Casso.
Welcome to the Impact Forum at Roots Tech 2025. My name is Irene Casso, one of the global MCs, the Spanish-speaking one, as you can tell by my accent. But this morning I'm doing something else. I'm going to be your MC for this forum, and I'm super excited. We have amazing speakers for you today. And today we're diving into something truly, truly special, the impact of family history. And this isn't just about records and research. It's about how knowing our stories shapes us, strengthens us, and creates lasting change in our lives and in the world around us. The power of family discovery goes far beyond what we see on paper. It connects us to something bigger, helps us understand who we are, and inspires us to make a difference. And today, as I said, we have an amazing lineup of speakers who will show us just how far that impact reaches. So let's get started. Who's excited? I know I am. I need to feel it. Thank you. So our first speaker is someone who lives and breathes the power of connection. Through his work, his culture, and his incredible talent behind the camera. Milo Fowler is an award-winning Navajo photographer whose breathtaking images capture the deep connection between land, heritage, and identity. His work has been featured, listen to this, by National Geographic, Patagonia, and the Smithsonian, and he's passionate about preserving sacred places and stories through his art. So please, welcome Milo Fowler.
Thank you. Wow. Good morning to all of you who have made it here. In our culture, in our language, we always introduce ourselves in our language, and that's what I will do, and I will translate into English if that's a language you understand as well. Again, thank you all for being here. I am of the Edgewater clan. I'm born for the Red House clan. Those who are part of the clan of those who go around in circles are my paternal grandparents, and those who are part of the clan of those who voyage and travel and go the distance are my maternal grandparents. And this is how I am a Navajo Diné person as one of the Holy Five-Fingered People. As a photographer for well over 20 years in the outdoor, in the off-road and adventure space, one of my favorite things that I get to do is travel. Whether that be to the wonderful and amazing places like Tahiti, where the water and the sky are just quite stunning, and even everything below the water as well. Swimming with sharks has been a wild thing because the home I grew up in was, quite frankly, not much larger than this stage that I'm on right now. And I've been to places like Iceland, and not that long ago, I got to bike around about 400 miles around the Lofoten Islands of Norway. As much as the world is beautiful and probably where you come from is, for me, my beautiful place that I love to be are with those creations near and dear to me, like wild horses, like these in this photograph here. They're actually found not that far from here. If you go and venture and get lost somewhere between the Utah and Nevada desert, out in the middle of nowhere, during the sunset, you just might find wild horses dancing, just like your soul might be as well. A couple of weeks ago, I did something amazing, and that was camping in negative 38-degree weather so that the next morning I could wake up and hopefully find a fox in a blizzard. And then I came across this one here that was pondering, it seemed like, in the last little bit of light that was available in the evening light. Although the wildlife around this area is amazing and incredible, there's absolutely nothing like waking up in the morning to simply watch a sunrise. Not only is that amazing to have a camera handy, the most beautiful thing is knowing that, as we say in our culture, the Creator is not done with me yet. So what a blessing it is to be here, right? What a blessing and an opportunity it is to continue our purpose. Hopefully you've found that, and hopefully you're pursuing that. For us as Navajo people, we always say that, may I walk in beauty on this day. May I walk in beauty with things in front of me, behind me, below me, above me, and all around me. And may I have this balance. This balance seems to cater to our culture from the Mail River, which you see. Actually, this is a photograph of my wife hiking or starting a hike just quite literally about 40 feet from our backyard in Arizona. Our view encompasses the Sacred Mail River, which flows in the Grand Canyon. Across the way, you see the Vermilion Cliffs and the Echo Cliffs. And I never take this view for granted, because this is where I learned so much from my paternal grandpa about horses, about nature, about our songs, about our culture, and about our language. All the way across to the heart of Navajo land would be Canyon de Chelly. This is a very specific location where quite a few of our stories come from in terms of for our women, for our young ladies, creation stories, and especially around the coming of age ceremony. I learned all of this from my grandparents. I didn't learn English until about around the 3rd grade, and I had some amazing experiences in boarding school. One of them profound me and propelled me to continue to learn our language, and that was getting in trouble speaking our language. I would simply say to the teacher, I was just asking my friend how to solve this math problem in our language, because that's my mother tongue. Spending time with our elders nowadays is an absolute treat, because all of my grandparents and even my great-grandmother, they've all moved on to the anticipated and the well-talked about world of great spirits. The elders that I have now, that's who they are. They are the wise ones. They are the knowledge keepers. They are the doorway from my generation to the previous ones that they've known about. And so to spend a half hour with them, whether that be 5 minutes or so, they always have some amazing wisdom and light to share. And that has been a blessing for me. This is a wonderful couple. They've been married for well over 70 years. And nobody really knows when they were born, because the census wasn't around. In our culture, we go by the cosmos. We go by the time of year, how the plants were, when the lambs were born. So much around us in nature describes the time frame that we were born in. What's quite funny is my father on his birth certificate, it says he was born in a hospital in April, which is absolutely inaccurate, because my great-grandmother delivered him under a tree about an hour and a half away from the said hospital. Not only that, my actual great-grandmother delivered him in September. And she knew that because she said the moon was coming up this way. This constellation was over here. The berries on the trees were totally different. And my great-grandmother said, there's no way your father was also born in April, because when he came into this world, I gave him his first bath in snow. In April, we usually don't have snow, but we do in September. But my dad has 2 birthdays every year. So these grandparents, like I mentioned, are so incredible. They are the ones that allow me to continue to expand my knowledge about our people. In the 1860s, our people were taken away from the land, and all our people wanted to do was to be back home, to be back within the 4 sacred mountains, to be back within the Holy Male River and the Female River, and they've endured so much. I learned a lot of these stories from my great-grandmother as well. It was a phenomenal opportunity to where she was the coolest next-door neighbor as well. The stories go that she was born around 1910 in the fall time. That's the closest we have. And when I was a little kid, probably around 1st grade or 2nd grade, she would love coming over to our house and basically spending time with me. And she told me about an experience that she had when she was a little girl. She said, during the wintertime, it was really cold, and the sheep and the dogs and the cows and the horses were all very agitated. And we were afraid, thinking that the coyotes were coming around trying to, get dinner. And so my great-grandmother went outside in the night, and she looked above, and she saw the northern lights. In our culture, we call this the walkway of the holy people of the north. This story was so profound and impactful for me because, one, it was a moment that I can remember specifically and vividly spending time with my great-grandmother. I'm not sure how many people can say that, but for me, that is a treasure that I hold on to. When we had our first daughter, we could only name her Aurora Winter because of the great story that I received from my great-grandmother. As I mentioned earlier, all of my great-grandparents and my grandparents have moved on to the world of great spirits. In our clan system, that allows us to know who we are related to. We also jokingly say clans before plans, so we know who to date and who not to marry. So this is Grandpa Dan Begay. Grandpa Dan Begay, as you can see in the silhouette here, he lives right around Monument Valley, which straddles the Arizona-Utah state line. I love meeting with Dan because my humanitarian project is all about bringing solar power to the many families, especially elders, veterans, singles moms, and students who don't have electricity. Grandpa Dan was one of the very first families that I visited, and he lives a few miles from the highway on a dirt road. I love this photograph of him sitting here in this chair because this is where he prays, this is where he ponders, this is where he fasts, this is where he thinks, and just to see him in his environment is such a peaceful thing. The one thing that's quite beautiful is right behind his house is a canyon. I asked him if he could sing for me, and I'm so thankful that he did. The greatest thing that I love to hear from him is when I open his door, and he always says, Yate Shanela, which means, hello, my grandchild. Dan and I are not related by blood whatsoever. However, through our clan system, that allows us to know, again, how we are related. And my great-grandmother and all of my grandparents, especially my grandmothers, they said, you better know your clans, and whoever you're related to, if you find another grandmother out there, you best treat them just like you would treat me. I never forgot that lesson as a little kid. This is Grandma Sosi. In our culture, we count our time on Mother Earth, not by the calendar year, but by how many winters we have endured. Grandma Sosi has just endured her 102nd winter. Such a beautiful, beautiful goal. And that's a very specific number that we aspire to. In our culture, we're very proud of the white hair that we have because that means you've gained wisdom, that means you've gained knowledge, that means you've gained experience. And it also comes with a great responsibility to pass that on to the next generation. While sitting here photographing Grandma Sosi, we were joking about her first love, and that was eventually enough to get her to smile a little bit. And so that time with her was quite precious. As you can see, the jewelry, the clothing, and the wrinkles in her hands and in her face, there's so much to unravel there. And my 1 hour with her was plenty to get so much more. All of our elders have often said that we all carry a certain amount of light. Some days it's brighter, and other days it's a flicker. Nonetheless, that light we have is something beautiful, and the goal is to share that with others. As a photographer, I absolutely love the crazy storms, the blizzards. The couch is the last place where I want to be whenever there's a massive storm coming through because I want to be out somewhere. This is a beautiful depiction of it, just what a little bit of light can do to nature. And I often think about just a little bit of light that we also have and how much it can potentially illuminate the valley of somebody, perhaps somebody that's in distress, somebody that's worried, somebody that's wondering, are they going to be okay? This is one of my most favorite photographs. I remember photographing it during a massive female rainstorm, really gentle, gave a lot of moisture to the land. And about a month after this entire valley was covered in wildflowers. As I sit here with my camera on cliff edges or not that far from a wolf or photographing a tornado, all these experiences remind me of the one beautiful story that my grandmother gave me. And that is that we are all part of this place we get to call home one time. My great-grandmother said that our language is going to continue to grow and evolve, and new words are going to have to be created because there's going to be new things in your generation. My great-grandmother said, when I was a little girl, we didn't have hospitals, we didn't have clinics, we didn't have helicopters. We never had any of those. And so when the time came to make a word for that, we said, azeilide. In English, that would mean the place where the medicine is manufactured. However, for my great-grandmother, who was a healer, her medicine was outside the front door. Her medicine was in her backyard. She taught me the many ways to mix different plants if you have different coughs or stomach aches or anything of the sort. I really wish I would have recorded that on audio because sometimes I'm in nature and I don't have my ibuprofen or some things like that, right? The most important thing she told me after that lesson about how nature is medicine, she said, which in my language would translate to English is that we are each other's medicine. I hope you take time to think about that teaching that I received from my great-grandmother because I believe you are somebody else's medicine as well. Whether you come from the beautiful country of France or even Copenhagen or even from the beautiful state of New Mexico. We, no matter where we come from, are other people's medicine. With the technology, with the apps, with all the services and all the booths that are over here, my greatest hope is that you walk away from this knowing that you are part of this home that we get to call One Time. This is a traditional Navajo hogan. Like I said, it's no bigger than this stage that I'm on right now. However, the many teachings that I received therein are quite valuable. Thank you so much. Ehe and sago. Nana.
So good. Wow. Milo's work was amazing. I feel like I want to wallpaper my house with some of those photographies. And I love his ability to tell stories through photography, culture, and heritage. Truly, truly inspiring. And now we're shifting gears here, and we're going to explore another way family history impacts communities. And this is through research, records, and discovery. Up next, we have Lindsay Fulton, an expert leading the charge in genealogy research and historical preservation. Her work helps people uncover lost histories, reconnect families, and build a bridge between the past and the present. Please welcome Lindsay Fulton.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be back at RootsTech to share an incredible story with you. Last year, my colleague Ryan Woods introduced you to the 10 Million Names Project, our ambitious effort to identify the 10 million men, women, and children of African descent who were enslaved in pre- and post-colonial America. We estimate that 44 million Americans descend from those 10 million people. That is a lot of family reunions. But don't worry, we're not doing this alone. The 10 Million Names Project is a collaboration involving some truly amazing organizations. Groups like the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society, the Divine Nine, the White House Historical Association, Family Search, and many others. It's a team effort, and we're honored to have their support. In fact, new organizations are joining all the time. And when you do work like this, you make some pretty amazing discoveries. Over the past year, we've shared a lot of those stories in the news. Let me show you some.
So these are the two plots of land that he purchases, which is where the family lives today.
This is a 320
320
acres.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's kind of, you hear, the oral history is passed along, and it's just something that you grow up knowing, but to actually see the map, see the documentation, it really just kind of is so gratifying.
struck by this quote, which says, in part, "Get in and stay in the streets of every city, every village and hamlet of this nation until true freedom comes, until the revolution of 1776 is complete." The words of the late Congressman John Lewis.
It is a struggle that my great-great-great-grandfather participated in from the start and continues to this day.
I didn't actually think I would be emotional about it. But being with this kind of living document that I can only imagine, what Toby had to endure, and I can't help but feel pride.
She said it was an amazing day for her. Oh, they danced a while and celebrated out in the dirt and kicked up their heels. They were free. I know she did. Oh, it's amazing.
While imagining the joy her grandmother felt, she also feels a joy of her own.
This is your daddy.
This is
yes,
your daddy.
This is your dad.
This
yes.
is your daddy.
This is your dad.
Look at that.
For the first time, Willie Mae sees her father's World War II registration card.
I'm rejoicing. I'm so happy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so happy because just to know that this is where we come from.
Exactly.
And I would love to know more and more and more.
I was proud of knowing that my people could overcome something as horrible and as horrific as slavery. But I think intellectually I wanted to start my family's history with my grandmother. To go back too far is maybe too painful. And so I finally agreed reluctantly to do this digging. So as I'm riding to this property, the first thing I'm thinking, it's hot. It must have been like this for my ancestors. Hot, working in the fields. The pressure of it was building more and more of just the feeling of being in bondage. Thank you keeps coming to mind for Adeline. Thank you. Thank you for the will to survive. Thank you for the will not to give up.
Now, most genealogy starts with a living person tracing their family back into the past. Starting with yourself and trying to find out how you're related to Queen Victoria or Victoria Beckham. The 10 Million Names Project flips that method on its head. We start in the past with an enslaved person and trace their descendants forward to the present. Even though slavery tried to erase personal identities, the names of the enslaved are everywhere, in wills, bills of sale, letters, diaries, household records, you name it, we're combing through it. Since the project launched in August of 2023, we've identified nearly 1 million names. By this time next year, we're aiming to double that. Because we genealogists don't stop until we find what we're looking for or someone tells us to go to bed. One of the most remarkable people we've researched is someone you might not recognize, Elizabeth Freeman. Elizabeth Freeman was born around 1744 in New York. When she was just 7 years old, she and her sister Lizzie were given away as a wedding gift to a Massachusetts couple, Colonel John Ashley and his wife, Hannah. Now, John Ashley's fortune was built on the international slave trade, and he owned 5 people, including Elizabeth Freeman. But he was also a revolutionary who held meetings in his house to share new ideas about freedom, equality, and independence. When Elizabeth overheard these conversations, she immediately recognized the hypocrisy. In 1781, Elizabeth did something extraordinary. She walked 5 miles to the office of lawyer Theodore Sedgwick and asked him to help her sue for her freedom. Sedgwick told her women couldn't petition the court, so Elizabeth teamed up with an enslaved man named Brom. Together, they filed a lawsuit against the Ashleys. The case made its way to the Massachusetts Supreme Court, where Sedgwick argued that slavery violated the Massachusetts Constitution. The jury agreed. Elizabeth won her freedom. Her case set a precedent that helped lead to the abolition of slavery in Massachusetts just 2 years later. Elizabeth took the surname Freeman to reflect her new status. After the trial, Ashley asked Elizabeth if she would come and work for him as a paid servant. She said no. Instead, she took a job in Thomas Sedgwick's household and became a prominent midwife and nurse who helped families across the Berkshires bring new life into the world. She died on December 28, 1829, at the age of 85. I'm sure it comes as no surprise that historians and genealogists were interested to find living descendants of this very remarkable woman. And we even had a head start. You see, Elizabeth Freeman made a last will and testament naming not just her children, but also her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren. We thought easy peasy. It was not easy peasy. 10 Million Names researchers discovered that genealogists had been working on this problem for some time, even tracing Elizabeth's descendants to the early 20th century. And they kept hitting a brick wall. Our big break came when we found a simple funeral notice on a website in Hamden, Connecticut. I called the funeral director, and I explained who I was and what I did for a living, and I begged him to share my information with the next of kin, a person who I thought was named Lisa Shepperson, but I couldn't be completely sure. He promised me that he would try. And what happened next could be only described as a leap of faith. Lisa Shepperson called me. I saw her name pop up on my cell phone, and I thought, all right, here we go. Don't make it weird. I immediately made it weird. Hi, you're trying to reach the next of kin of Margaret Howard, my mother? Yes, is this Lisa Shepperson? Yeah, how did you know that? And is your mother's maiden name Margaret Baldwin? Yes, again, how did you know that? At this point, I realized I was totally freaking Lisa out. So then I explained everything without revealing the name of the historic figure she was related to, since we wanted to capture that reaction on camera. Later that summer, in July, we told Lisa that she was a direct descendant of Elizabeth Freeman.
And so you're the first, it's an important thing. You're the first living descendant ever identified attached to Elizabeth Freeman. And that's
Oh, that's so good for me.
I know it is. And just to keep,
I want to cry.
Just to be perfectly honest, the first living descendant, and also that we found, and also the first living descendant that really proves that the stories that people have tried to create about her, it shows that you can really talk back to that. So that's just so powerful to me, right? You know.
I'm so blessed and I feel great and I appreciate you all for everything.
Oh, it's our honor. This is such a dream come true for people who spend most of their time in books to be able to meet you.
I'm excited and I'm grateful, you guys. Thank you so much.
Like many people outside the Berkshires, Lisa didn't know anything about Elizabeth Freeman, but that was about to change. We invited Lisa to Massachusetts for a week-long visit, culminating in Elizabeth Freeman Day on August 21st. The Boston Globe wanted to do an exclusive on Lisa's story, so our job was to keep other reporters away until the Globe article was published. Lisa could visit anywhere and meet anyone, but she had to keep her connection to Freeman a secret. One of the first events that week was a reading from the play Meet Elizabeth Freeman by Teresa Miller. It was performed under a tent in the rain to a packed audience by local celebrity Wanda Houston, a jazz singer and actress. At the end of the performance, Wanda opened the floor to questions. A man in the audience asked whether Elizabeth Freeman had any living descendants. Now, the Berkshires are full of Elizabeth Freeman descendants, or experts. It seems like every third resident is writing a book about her. Two women in the audience jumped up to explain that Freeman's family tree had been traced up to about the mid-20th century, but no one had been able to find any living descendants. They said it would be amazing if anyone could do it. One of them said, simply amazing. Lisa sat quietly in the back row, smiling, but said nothing. Over the next few days, Lisa met with local Black scholars and officials to learn more about Elizabeth Freeman's story and its significance to the community. She discovered that Freeman is still often referred to as Mumbette, a name given to her by the Ashley family who enslaved her. During her visit, whenever Lisa heard the name Mumbette, she made a point of saying that her answer should have been called by her chosen adult name, Elizabeth Freeman, rather than the nickname used by her enslavers' children. She also learned that Elizabeth Freeman's story is not officially taught in local schools. Lisa wanted to visit every site connected to Freeman's life and history. One stop was the Ashley House, which retains its original structure and is now a protected historic site open for tours. There, Lisa walked through the same rooms where her ancestor had been enslaved. She stood over the same floorboards, saw where Elizabeth likely tended the fire, cared for the Ashley children, and overheard discussions about the natural rights of men. Lisa even stood over the bed where Elizabeth may have dreamed of her freedom. Lisa also visited a nearly empty field where, after working for 20 years as a free woman in the Sedgwick household, Elizabeth Freeman bought her own house. Scholars have determined that Elizabeth's house was near the property of Agrippa Hull, another formerly enslaved person who served in the Revolutionary War and went on to purchase more land in that part of Massachusetts than any other African American. Hull and Freeman worked together as domestic servants in the Sedgwick household. Ready for another historic moment? That afternoon, Lisa met Agrippa Hull's living descendant, Ray Gunn, and his wife, who invited her over for cheese and crackers. Ray, who's in his 90s, shared stories and connected with Lisa. A Boston Globe photographer captured a memorable photo of Lisa and Ray together, two descendants of individuals whose lives and actions profoundly shaped history. And genealogy made this extraordinary moment possible. Lisa also visited the courthouse where Freeman's landmark case for freedom was heard in 1781. There, she touched the hand of an 8-foot bronze statue of Elizabeth Freeman, which was dedicated in 2022. Another significant stop was Freeman's gravesite. The Sedgwick family, prominent in Massachusetts, has a large burial site with gravestones spiraling out from a central marker. Elizabeth Freeman is buried in the inner circle, near the Sedgwick children, a rare honor. Sadly, Freeman's own children are buried elsewhere. Visitors from around the world leave mementos on Elizabeth's grave. When Lisa visited, she found flowers, trinkets, and even a Nigerian doll left by a recent visitor. Lisa added her own tribute, a beaded bracelet made by her niece. It was, she said, a gift from her family to honor her ancestor. The next day, the Boston Globe story ran on the front page, and we made a point of driving to all the local gas stations to grab as many copies as we could. And the story didn't stop there. NPR and local outlets picked it up, reaching tens of thousands of people. Lisa is here today, continuing to honor her ancestors' legacy. Lisa, would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you, Lisa. 10 Million Names is more about finding names. It's about bringing history to life and connecting it to our shared past. We encourage you all to come along this journey with us as we continue to connect families to their past. Please scan the QR code on the screen to sign up for project updates. We thank you for taking the time to listen to Lisa and Elizabeth's story. Thank you.
So interesting. It's incredible to see how research and records help bring our family stories to life. And now our next speaker does the same, but a little differently. He does it through music. Who's ready for some music? I know I am. Victor Wooten is a 5-time Grammy Award-winning musician, composer, and educator. He's been called one of the greatest bass players of all time, and beyond his music, he's passionate about teaching, inspiring, and helping others find their unique voice. So will you help me? Let's give a warm Rootstech welcome to Victor Wooten.
Thank you, thank you. It's kind of quiet. I don't hear the bass. But that's okay. Well, I guess we don't need it. Oh, you go on YouTube. There's a lot there. But let me ask you a question. Who are you? And many times we get asked that question. We answer the question with what we do. Oh, I'm a doctor. You know, I'm a teacher. I'm a bass player. My parents wouldn't stand for that. My parents would say, no, that's what you do. Who are you? See, my mother was the oldest girl. And I said, Mom, how many kids were there? How many brothers and sisters? She said, oh, there were 13 of us. There were 13 of us that lived. Yeah, she said, my mom had more pregnancies, but they couldn't always go to the doctor and things like that. They didn't have those same privileges. Oh, look at that. These people are professionals. Thank you. That works. Thank you. Good enough. So Mom, as the oldest girl, was raising kids since she was probably in single digits. So she was a born caretaker. So when she had 5 kids of her own, raising kids at that time was easy, super easy. She had done it. But the thing I realized as an adult, now that I have kids of my own, was what she did for us and to us. It was sort of like both parents, and I'll get to my dad in a minute. Both parents were planting what I'll call spiritual vitamins. in these us 5 boys' souls, spiritual vitamins. You know, like we of course, you know about our family tree. We have a tree, but there's a seed that has to be nourished. And when you create the perfect environment, that tree will grow. And at no time do we ask the tree, hey, what do you do? The tree knows who it is. Our parents planted the same roots, the spiritual vitamins into us boys. You see, my dad, like me, was the baby. 14 of them. My dad never finished high school. He dropped out, and they let him into the army as a child, basically, just because his brothers were already there. He fought in the Korean War for a country at the time that wasn't fighting back for him. But he wasn't bitter. Thank you. My dad told me a story being chased by the Ku Klux Klan. And I'll cut that story short. You don't need to hear it all. But he ran into a house, climbed up a chimney, hiding in the chimney, and he heard the man come in the house behind him. This man went right to the chimney and looked up. They're staring at each other's eyes. Then they hear another man enter the building. And this man said, "Is anybody in here?" And the man, looking up at my dad, turns and says, "No, this house is clear, nobody's here." And he walks out, saves my dad's life. Dad had a choice at that moment. Dad could have chosen to be like the other 9 men who would have surely killed him. But he chose to be like the one that saved him. And I'm standing here today because of that one man. The one man that spared my dad's life allows me to be here. So who do you think I'm going to choose to be like? I have a daughter who's about to get married in a couple of weeks. Hopefully I get grandchildren. Because of that one man, I get to be here for them. So, again, I ask you, who are you? Hopefully this question is changing for a bit. Because my mom said that when I wake up and look in the mirror every morning, I've already met the most important person I'm going to meet today. It starts with you. I know that sounds maybe egotistical, But if it does, I urge you to go look up the word ego. And ego means to know thyself, to know your self-worth. It's something you never want to leave at the door. Know thyself. When I wake up and look in the mirror, I've already seen the most important person I'm going to see today. My aunt told me a story. I'm the youngest of 5 musicians. I'm the baby. I learned to play from my older brothers. I've been playing music literally my whole life. I'm 60 years old. My first memory of playing bass in the band with my brothers, I was 2. So we've done a lot. We've gotten a lot of awards and things like that. But as my mom would always say, awards come from other people. It's how you see yourself is what matters. You're the only person you can never get away from. My aunt was at our house. Actually, about 50 or 60 relatives were at my house, our house in Virginia. And our house wasn't big, but we had a good 50, 60 people there. My brothers always gave up their beds. People were sleeping on the kitchen table, under the kitchen table. And we had played a big show at a Coliseum in Hampton, Virginia. And my Aunt Ann Lois told me that she saw my mom up late that night after the gig. She was in the kitchen pacing, agitated, talking to herself. And my aunt says, Dot, my mom's name was Dorothy. She said, Dot, what's going on? And my mom's agitated, and she says, my neighbors, my friends are getting on me because I didn't go see my boys play, and they said, you should have been there supporting your boys, and, you stayed home. And my mom said, I don't care that my boys, I'm not impressed that my boys played at the Coliseum. She said, I'm impressed that my boys can play at the Coliseum and come home and sleep on the floor. You sound just like my mom. I hear you over here saying, come on. You sound just like my mom. As my mom would say, that's what I'm talking about. That you can play at the Coliseum and come home and sleep at the floor. Now, I never understood this really as a child because that's just who we were. But now that I have my own kids and hopefully soon grandkids, I'm thinking, what are the stories I'm going to tell them? What are the seeds I want to plant? We've already planted, my wife Holly and I have already planted the seeds in our kids, but now we get to be grandparents maybe and plant more seeds. See, my dad's side of the family were storytellers. And not all the stories were good. Stories maybe not even a kid should hear, but because the morals were good. Like the chimney story, I can tell you many more. But I know now that they told us these stories to make us the people that we are. So I ask the question one more time. Who are you? Not what do you do, who are you? So again, I can tell you, I'm a bass player, a celebrated musician. People usually know me because of what I do. And it's because of what I do that I get to be here and speak with you. I get to speak with people around the world. I'll be back in this city soon and playing a concert. I get to be on social medias. And if I can get people's attention because of what I do, I'm going to use that and do the best with it. Because there are a lot of us musicians out there who are playing good music. And I know that if I put music behind what I say, you will listen. And whatever I sing, you will repeat. So I want to make sure that you're repeating things that you should be repeating. So I'm putting my parents' spiritual vitamins into my music. As they say, if you build it, they will come. And I say, if you play it, they will listen. That's the power of music. Music is a superpower. If you think about music, it's one of the only things that brings people together like this, where we don't compete. It's not like sports where somebody has to lose. In sports, if nobody's losing at the end, we'll add more time so that until somebody loses. All right? I'm not saying it's bad, but I am saying that music is not like that. Right? We all remember Tchaikovsky, as my brother Roy says. We remember Tchaikovsky, Mozart, Beethoven, Brahms. But who remembers who the president was or the king was back then? Exactly. Music is powerful. And I'm not saying that politicians or religion and things like that aren't, but music will stay. And music brings us together without having to think about color of skin, monetary status, religion. It's a powerful thing. And because I've been given this gift, I want to use it with the spiritual vitamins that my parents have given me. To quote my mom before I get out of here, she would say, "What does the world need with just another good musician?" And I'll say, insert your profession in that with another whatever. She says, we have plenty of good musicians. She said, what the world needs are more good people. So we are at the end of our line. We are at the end of our family tree. And we are here because of good people before us. So let's do good things with it, okay? I hope we meet again. And if we do, guaranteed, I'm going to ask you a question. And that question is, who are you? My name is Victor Wooten. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victor. That was so good.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you for that beautiful message. And what an incredible session, don't you think? Give it up again for our amazing speakers. So just to recap, we've heard from Milo Fowler, whose photography preserves the soul of his culture and provides a way to give back. We heard from Lindsay Fulton, who helps people discover and reclaim their family histories. And then we heard from Victor Wooten right now, who reminded us that music, like family history, is about connection, storytelling, and emotion. So in our reality, this is what RootsTech is all about. Taking what we discover and using it to strengthen families, communities, and the world around us. And this doesn't end here. Keep the conversation going. You can share your thoughts online using the hashtag RootsTech2025. And most importantly, keep discovering. I'm Irene. We'll see you back here for our next session. Thank you so much.